This is Do It for a Living, your source for inside information on the future of automotive performance.
My grandfather told me a long time ago that, if you want to know what kind of a person you are, you take a look at the friends that you surround yourself with. And, at one point in my life, I looked around and I was surrounded by a bunch of knuckleheads, car thieves and, street urchins and stuff. And, I realized that that's who I am, even though I'm not, but that's who I am. And once I changed the people who I was hanging out with, we just left the streets and we just focused completely on the car stuff. Our lives were completely changed at that point.
What's holding you back from starting or growing your business into what it can be? Well, if you're listening to this, it's not a lack of information. What you're about to hear is all you need to get motivated and start making waves. Do It for a Living podcast details the journey of today's true players in their own words. Find out how they broke out so you can too. The time is now. The time is always now. So I got Eric and Mark Kozalou from Twins Turbo today, and these guys have been in the import game since the mid-90s with Performance Factory New York City, Vinny 10 Supra, and these guys are even involved with EA Sports, or EA Games rather, video games. So guys, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. How about yourself?
I'm living the dream, baby.
Yeah, that's what we could say too, man. Living the dream.
Nice. So I like to just dive right in. Tell us a little bit about who you guys are, about your business, and how did you get started? Take us all the way back to when you were kids. Were you always involved in cars and, up through high school? Tell us your story.
Well,
we're the prototypical car guys, American car guys.
Literally, just two of us since we're identical twins, and we have been fascinated by car racing since as long as we can remember. I tell people all the time, but it's not a joke, that we literally learned how to read on Hot Rod Magazine. We started reading Hot Rod Magazine when we were single digits, 7 years old.
Because we needed to understand what was going on with the pictures, man. What's that shiny thing sticking through the hood? How does it work? And we needed to figure this stuff out at 7, 8 years old. So we needed to get spooled up.
So since then,
where are you guys from?
We're from Flushing, Queens, New York. Born and raised in the urban jungle over there. And it's not really a super car-friendly place, so we were definitely the oddballs in our neighborhood hanging out that, we're really some of the only people that wanted cars and were just completely obsessed with going to the street races. And
other people liked cars, but we were kind of obsessed, more than kind of obsessed. It was the driving purpose for our existence was to talk about cars, bench racing, just nonstop pointing out cars. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at this.
And since there were two of us and we're all together all the time, it became very easy for us to try and learn as much as we could, so that I know a little bit more than you, and then I understand that you don't understand that, and then it's well, how do I not understand that and he understands that? And it just was a constant try to learn more so that we could have this conversation between each other about what we're seeing, and all be on the same page. It was pretty much an automotive crucible since birth with the two of us.
Yeah.
And we didn't get any help. So, we come from a lower middle class family, basically. My dad was a cop my grandfather was a commercial fisherman. So we grew up on fishing boats. But, my grandfather, being that he owned his own business, I didn't really realize it until later on in life, but, he instilled that sense of
entrepreneurship and just do it for yourself and make it happen at all costs type of mentality.
Yep.
And also going out on a boat prepares you for having to make sure that all your ducks are in a row, everything's lined up, because you're 2 miles offshore and you run out of fuel and you are SOL. So, or you get an injury or someone gets cut bad, and you have.
Or you forget to bring the coffee. It's something simple as that. And
that kind of prepared us for going to a racetrack, because we you didn't realize it, but you want to bring everything humanly possible and all contingencies, and you wind up going through the checklist 100 times in your head. Thanks, Grandpa.
So we had our first cars a year and a half before we had learner's permits, getting them prepped to go. And the first realistic car that we got was my brother got a 77 Cadillac Coupe de Ville, which was awesome. I got a 71 Chevelle with a 350 small block. We took the Chevelle to the street races when we were like 16 years old in Brooklyn at Fountain Avenue. We got beat up, brought the car home, brought out the catalogs. There was a PAW at the time. This is before the internet, way before the internet. So, you're doing research. And we basically saved all of our money for a summer working and took the car apart down to the white meat. Pistons out, rods out, new bearings, new everything at 17. The family thought we were absolutely out of our minds. Why would we take a perfectly good car apart? But it was something that we had to do. Mom believed in us, but everybody else was thinking we were crazy. And we got the car to run after it was all said and done. And it was pretty quick, but we overcammed it now in reflection. But, that I guess it just kind of it's just you got to just take it by the horns yourself and do something about it, or else, nobody's going to help you. I mean, I remember, and I don't want to dominate the conversation here, but when we started playing with race cars after, in our 20s, my grandmother was like, "You guys are out of your effing minds. Just go get a city job, be a garbage man. The garbage people are hiring. Go get a city job with a pension. You retire in 20 years and live your life out." And I was like, I mean, that's all you think we're good for? I mean, damn it, I mean.
Yeah, I wasn't put on this earth to throw someone's trash away, not taking that away from anybody else. But I just would, it was unthinkable to us that was my purpose on earth, was to 9 to 5 it, collecting trash. I mean, it was inconscionable. It was not even something that I would even consider,
So you knew from a young age what you were going to do, where you were going.
That's the best part. It's like we just we had no clue. We really didn't. We knew we were completely obsessed, and we really didn't know that you could make a living doing this. Like, it wasn't something that anyone taught us or told us, or, like you doing a podcast like this may open someone's eyes to the fact that this could happen. But just as two kids bouncing off each other in Queens, New York, I mean, there wasn't anyone who sat down with us and said, "Hey, dude, this is for real. It's like, if you guys want to do this, you could do it." It just never happened,
Yeah. So what do you say to the guy in the middle of nowhere in the Midwest that maybe doesn't have, any contacts? Has location played a role in your success, in your upbringing, or was that a hurdle to overcome?
It's a little bit of both. I honestly believe we've been really blessed to have a lot of opportunities just present themselves at the right time for us. But, at the same time, you gotta be on the lookout for them too. I mean, to go back when we were kind of screw ups in high school because it seemed like a waste of time for us. We both went to Thomas Edison Automotive High School in Queens, in Jamaica, Queens, trying to learn automotive craft there. And I mean, I'm not joking, but we spent the first 2 years in automotive class, which was like 4 periods a day. I didn't learn anything. We knew it all already. And the teacher would literally have me explain things to the class sometimes just so that I could put it into some kind of a way that they would understand. And
because we were studying those hot rod magazines, trying to learn as much as we possibly could. It became organic. We just needed to know.
But we were, after that, we pretty much would cut out of school and go for looking for chicks because there were no girls in the automotive high school. It was a trade school. There was like 11 girls in the whole effing school. So we would just go, we would get out of class and we would go jump in Mark's Cadillac and go cruise around to other schools and try to pick up girls and have a good time. And then at the end of that road, we ended up having, a whole year worth of school that we missed pretty much at the end of the day. So, we were 17 years old. We were signed out of high school. Our parents left New York and went down to Florida to retire. And we were 17 years old on our own in New York. We decided to just stay up there and try to make it happen for ourselves. So we eventually got GEDs, but I got a job as a plumber. Mark did a bunch of stuff and then got into the electrical union. And, I spent 6 years as a plumber in New York, but on the weekends we would just go to those street races. We'd have, car stuff constantly around the clock that we're doing, but it was just personal. And
I had a nice Mustang at the time. It's an 85 Mustang with a SVO kit on it, some GT bumpers, 5-lug kit, built motor. It's pretty tough.
It was nice. Had the 411 gears, would almost huck the wheels on some sticky tires, but yeah, it never was handed to us and came easy. But then, one day we were trying to do a Honda engine swap. We had read about all the engine swaps happening on the West Coast with the Civics and the B Series engines, and this.
And when was this?
This is 95 or so.
Okay.
And
I got a buddy of mine had a nice CRX that it kind of caught my eye like a chick would, and I kind of hunted this car for a year until he wanted to sell it, and then I pressured him to sell it to me, and I bought it from him. It was a nice little CRX with a single cam, and it got pretty slow pretty quick. But it had a good potential, a high revving, and had nice brakes and stuff.
Plus, we were doing domestic cars at the time for ourselves personally, but I had ended up getting a GSXR 1100. It was like an 87 1100 Gixxer, and it was a beast, and I loved the 12,000 RPM, and we would just constantly say, well, heck, why the hell can't we have a fucking larger car engine that could operate like this? Overhead valve, no push rods, high revving, small displacement, technology based, and we were dealing with, push rods, small block Chevys,
and you had to make tools to make a tool. You'd have to, bust out a torch and bend a wrench so you could get a nut out of this spot on your Ford or your Chevy or something. And when, we were paying people to work on that Gixxer 1100, and then we reached a point where we're like, well, let's buy a metric tool kit, and instead of supplement our tools with a metric kit, and let's start tinkering on the bike. And once we did, we were like, wow, this thing is really well put together, and it makes sense to work on it. And we kind of fell in love with the way the Japanese vehicles were built as far as servicing them and the technology push that goes into these things. And
then when you saw your first B Series motor, a VTEC engine that's making 180, 190 horsepower out of a 1.8 liter engine, and which was like what Mustangs were making at the time. It's like, well, holy crap, this thing is the motorcycle engine that we've been looking for 5 years. It's in this B Series engine right here. So we actually started to, we went around and we found a non-VTEC B18 and started to try to figure out how to put it into the Honda, and we couldn't figure it out because none of the engine mounts worked with that combo. You had to weld some stuff, and we couldn't weld at the time, so we were calling around looking for people that could steer us in the right direction to get some engine mounts that would fit for this thing. And some junkyard said there's a speed shop opening up in Queens that does Japanese cars, and we were like, there's no way. We know every speed shop in Queens, and there certainly isn't one that does Japanese cars. And the dude was like, no, they just opened up. You need to go call him up. His name is Vinny. And so we literally went to where Performance Factory was opening up, and Vinny and his partner JC were literally painting the floors and painting the walls, and they were like a month into opening up, and
they weren't really official yet.
Yeah, nothing was official, and so we just basically became the dudes that were hanging out over there after work, and just seeing what they're doing and trying to just get down with the program. And after a couple of months, a year of doing that, Vinny was like, I found this Mark IV Super chassis, and we're going to build this into a drag car, and we're going to go and mess some people up. And it was like, well, there's no effing way that we're going to miss out on that.
And on top of that, we were all like, well, how the fuck are we going to do this? Because we're all just average folks. And, Vinny was like, we're going to get paid to go racing. And I'm like, get paid to go racing? Like, how do you get paid to go racing? It's like nothing that even had crossed our minds at this point. It's like, we know from a fact, if you want to go fast, you got to spend money. The faster you want to go, the more money you got to spend. Those guys at the street races who were really fast, those guys had a lot of coin, and we weren't able to compete with them on that kind of level. And this guy's telling us now that we're going to get paid by some magic people are going to pay us to go racing. And I'm like, dude, we got to see this. I gotta be a part of this. This doesn't even make any sense.
So you guys are all in at this point. You're still working your full-time jobs, but you're over here after any time that you have time.
Yeah, working till 11 or 12 o'clock on the car, getting up, going to work the next day. We're both working 7 days a week at the time. So it was like, no Friday nights, no Saturday. You're beat. So you get 1 day off a week, and, but we would spend 5 or 6 hours after work every day at Performance, just kind of dicking around with the car, trying to help out and learn stuff. And And that just, then after a while, we just said, screw, just quit our jobs to work over there full time, and took a massive pay hit. When you're living on your own, it's like, wow, now I got to go from a $400 or $500 a week deal to like $200 a week,
Yeah.
But we found a way to make it happen. And, we ended up doing some pretty big things with Vinny at Performance Factory. And, it took a lot of dedication and hard work, but, we took that car around the East Coast especially, and pretty much beat up everybody that we put it up against. And it's just the most incredible feeling ever to build something that, at the time nobody had. I mean, you were still selling Toyota Supras. This is 96 now that we started to work at Performance Factory, and Supras are still in the showroom for $50,000. And, we've got one running tens, and it's making 900 effing horsepower with a bottle on it. And, a year later, we're making 1,000 horsepower on the motor, no bottle. And, it's stuff that nobody's ever done before. I mean, at this time, there was no headers. There was no single turbo. Nobody knew anything about. There was no pistons. There was no connecting rods. There was nothing. Everything had to be sorted out and made custom or figured out yourself. And it was just a glorious time to be involved with
problem solving.
Yeah.
Just all these little problems that needed to be sorted on the car, and you'd be nonstop thinking about it. Like, I was a terrible employee for my job, my job at the electrician spot, because all day I'd be thinking about what I'm going to do when I get out of here and go to the shop, and how am I going to solve that problem that we've been working on for the last couple of days. And I was a pretty bad employee at the electricians union. I was just daydreaming all day about racing.
Back then, you were having to come up with solutions that didn't exist. You couldn't pick up a catalog and just order all the parts you needed.
Sure, and that was like he's saying, half the cool thing about it was, everything that you read in the magazines about the Smokey Unix and the Grumpy Jenkins and the guys, Ed Pink Racing, and the people that had to pioneer takes the arrows type of scenario but they figured it out and they were legendary because of it, and people take it for granted that you can now open up an internet site and, buy 1,500 pistons for your small block, but somebody had to pioneer that and make that happen. And, at the time we were doing the same thing with the import stuff, and at a pretty high level, racing, expensive Toyotas against anything else. And
then, that car that we worked on and that thing that we did, it shows up in a magazine, and it's like, holy shit, that's us. And then the next month is another magazine. And then 2 months later, it's 2 magazines we're in. And now we're in every single magazine. And now you got all these people coming by the shop that want to, be your friend and stuff. And it was crazy. It was unbelievable at the time. But I, if it wasn't for Vinny 10 and JC Furman at Performance Factory, we'd probably still be stuck in those bullshit jobs that we were working at. So the fact that we met those people when we did, and they helped us realize that we could actually chase our dreams and it was possible, is the real reason why when we get someone who comes through the shop here who shows great potential and who is just the same as we were at that point, where we take that guy and we make him realize that you don't have to be stuck at that job. You can chase your dreams, and we try to do the same thing that Vinny and JC at Performance Factory did for us, because it was such a life-changing scenario that it meeting the right people and working with good people. My grandfather told me a long time ago that, if you want to know what kind of a person you are, you take a look at the friends that you surround yourself with. And, at one point in my life, I looked around and I was surrounded by a bunch of knuckleheads, car thieves and, street urchins and stuff. And, I realized that that's who I am, even though I'm not, but that's who I am. And once I changed the people who I was hanging out with, we just left the streets and we just focused completely on the car stuff, our lives were completely changed at that point.
That's what people need to hear. If you had to accredit, like you giving credit to the people that you were around for helping you and basically seeing what you could be, would you accredit like hard work to like your success? For example, like, do you have to do that?
Well, it's funny though. Those people like Vinny and JC at the Performance Factory, they saw something in us that we didn't see in ourselves at the time. Like they believed in us when no one believed in us, and we didn't even believe in ourselves at the time.
But at the same note, like I was so much of a I don't want to say a piece of crap, but I was such a street kid that Vinny wouldn't even let me answer the phone for like 6 months because he was afraid that I would ruin the reputation that he was trying to build because I was so rough around the edges and I cursed every other word out of my mouth. And, you know, I was a prototypical New York street kid that grew up in the 80s and 90s. It was a different time. It was a crazy time to grow up in New York. And we were right there for the end of that stuff. And, but he still saw something in us, and it had to be the hard work. It had to be the willingness to just sit there with your mouth shut, your ears and eyes open, trying to take as much in as possible, not arguing, bitching, and complaining, and just doing whatever needed to be done. Because, you know, I'm sure those guys had a lot of people that wanted to come by and help out with the car and help out with this.
And as it reaches 2 o'clock in the morning, those people are gone and they're done. And there's people that are staying there that just don't give up, that don't have any quit in them until the job is done. And that was us.
I still got a scar on my hand that I see every day from we had put a clutch in a car to go down to Maryland for a race, and we tested it on the street, which is just bananas. So, yeah, we're testing the Performance Factory Super on the street, making hits with it. In Jackson Heights, Queens, and we burned the clutch out, and it's like we're supposed to leave an hour ago. So we swapping the clutch out. We're all doing it so fast. I cut my hand open on a heat shield on there. I still have the scar on my wrist, but we got it done. We hustled down to Maryland, no sleep. We literally showed up at the track half an hour before the gates opened up from a 30-hour awake period with the Vinny's car, with my brother's Honda, and we spent that weekend cleaning up. We kicked everybody's ass in both classes that we entered the cars in. And at the end of the day, we were the last 2 cars standing. And the triumphant feeling that you got from that, I still get goosebumps thinking about it right now. It was one of the best days of my life. But if you were to quit and give up and not see it through, we would not have that feeling. We would not have that day, and our lives might have been a little bit different. So those dudes saw that we were willing to do anything that it took to make it happen, and we were willing to put the effort in, so they put the effort into trying to mold us into better people, you know?
Yeah.
So we try to make the cycle continue, and I don't even know if Vinny and JC realize that. They probably do now. At the time, they might not have. They might have just been thinking that we could help them grow their business, but what they did for us was huge, and we're totally aware of it, and we try to return the favor.
Right. So you guys seem like you're pretty confident and willing to do what it takes to make stuff happen. But do you doubt yourself? Like, do you ever think, what if this doesn't work? What if, and I don't just mean this particular car, but like, what if this whole my business doesn't work? What if getting hooked up with EA Games doesn't work? How do you overcome that feeling of self-doubt and move forward?
I've got faith that we're going to be taken care of. You know, we truly believe that every time that a door slams shut, there's a window open up somewhere for you. But if you're blind to it, you're not going to see that window. So, I mean, I haven't. When I used to work a 9-to-5er, I would be sick to my stomach, like having to get up tomorrow to go for work, and I got to go through this stuff and go see these people and blah blah blah, do all this stuff that I don't necessarily want to do. And it literally would give me knots in my stomach. And I haven't had any kind of feeling like that for the last 20-something years. You know, like I play with cars for a living, and I just don't worry about that stuff. It doesn't cross my mind.
And then, you know, with any issue that comes up with this kind of thing, it's, you know, everything comes in cycles. You have a good year, a bad year, things go really well for you this year, and it's like, well, wow, next year is going to be tremendous. This year was so huge, and next year is not so tremendous, and your TV show doesn't get picked up for the second season, or, you know, that
Jesse James made $20 million selling T-shirts last year. If we could even have a tenth of that, we'd be set. And, yeah, it's not going to happen, but it's like, okay.
But we got a shot at making it happen, and, you know, there are 300 million people in America who never had that shot. So did it work? No. Do I consider it a failure? Absolutely not, because we tried 110%, and if it didn't work, we're just going to keep plowing forward and until something does work.
We're in the arena. Yep. We're competing. We're making it happen. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we get back up. But as long as we're out fighting it, I really don't have any kind of worries about it. Maybe I should, but I don't.
But nice. If the cars don't work out, I mean, that's just opens up another opportunity to solve a different problem a different way and make them better. And we've been pretty awesomely hooked up with people, like a lot of the right people in our world, like Shane Tecklenburg and a bunch of other people that we work with on all these projects that are smarter than us, that when it comes time to having a problem, that they respect what we do so much that they're willing to open up their information that they've gleaned over their lives with us to share it. It always seems to work out in the end if you just really want to solve it and not give up and walk away. You got to really just want to solve the problem.
Right. You're the average of the 5 people that you hang out with, or the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Sure.
And like you said, changing it from street urchins to Shane Tees and those guys definitely helps.
You look at who we surround ourselves
change your mindset,
and it's a whole different ball game. And a lot of very impressive, really smart, talented people, supremely confident in what they do. And, it allows us then we've got this group of people that we've been building relationships with for all these years now that amounts to a really high level of people that we could bounce ideas off of. And when we do have a problem that's above our head, I mean, we could get someone to help us through it, and it just makes a better outcome for our customers.
Right.
Like your welding coach, you don't have to weld.
Larry Dixon's brother taught me how to weld. So when I didn't know how to weld and I needed to learn how to weld, because you could join metal together using the power of electricity and heat. And as a car guy, you desperately need to know how to weld. And I needed a welding coach real bad. And I needed to learn how to weld real bad. And when we first got out here to California, there was a guy in a shop next to us who was welding up airplane parts, and he was Larry Dixon's brother, the Top Fuel guy. And he was a really cool guy, and he taught me for a year how to TIG weld. And every time I'd make a mistake, I'd be able to go walk to him and say, well, what am I doing wrong here? And he would talk me through it. And those type of relationships are impossible to pay for,
Yeah.
And he probably wouldn't do that for 95% of the people that he ran into, but again, he saw that we were willing to do whatever the hell it takes and whatever was necessary to get our goals met, build better cars, this, that, the other thing. So he's like, hell, these guys are so hardcore, I'm going to help them out. And, it's just, I guess it's how it works out if you put yourself out there that you're willing to do whatever it takes,
Yep. Can you guys explain the worst experience that you've had in business? Take us to one particular moment that you could outline and tell us that story. A time that had you flat on the floor. Like, do you ever get to that point? It sounds like maybe you guys don't.
I mean, honestly, I think it's the fact that there's 2 of us that we, it's always trying to,
You're never alone?
Yeah, trying to work it out together. So
you're never in this thing alone, and the world is always...
there's a lot of people get into that the world's against me and I'm in the corner, back in the corner by myself, but I've always had somebody standing next to me willing to go through it together. So, I really don't, in all honesty, the worst experiences that I have are personal, really don't have a lot to do with business, because the business is happening and moves forward, and it always is in a constant.
Well, here's one. When we first got out here to California, we didn't have, we didn't have a lot going on. We barely made it out here financially. We
literally showed up here out in California, $700 in our pocket. That's it, between the 2 of us. $700, and we're out here in California.
Year 2000.
To start our lives over, end of 2000. Yeah.
So we're sharing a shop with somebody who we made a deal with because we didn't have enough money to rent our own place. And, this guy is he's taking half of our profits basically, and we're splitting the other half between the two of us who are laboring all this time, leaving a really salty taste in our mouth. But there's nothing we can do about it because we don't have a choice right now. So we busted our ass
because we don't come from funds. I can't just call up, the in-laws or mom and dad and say, I need $50,000 to start a business. It's just nobody in our circle is anybody like that. It's just, you got
to do it yourself or it ain't going to happen.
We've never asked for money from anybody to do anything. We've never gotten any help. We never took a business loan. We don't have any outstanding credit. We can't afford to buy it. We don't buy it type of deal.
So anyway, we're the pitfalls of starting your own business like we had to do was we had really no choice but to sub-rent a shop from someone who had an existing shop and have this guy literally just take the lion's share of our hard work and go on vacations and stuff. And I'd watch this guy take his wife on vacations while we just saved our pennies and saved our pennies and saved our pennies. And then, we kind of got into a bit of a rut of doing that and a bit of feeling trapped. And then 9/11/2001 happened, and we watched some of our friends die in those buildings, and we watched, our city that we grew up in change, and our skyline change, and our whole world changed for us. As New Yorkers and as proud Americans, we were just devastated by that, and we just sat around and looked at each other like, what the hell are we doing, dude? We're busting our ass. We're giving money to this guy who is jerking us, and we're playing ourselves.
And we just moved across the country, sight unseen, and ended up in, my buddy, it's like, hey, come to Southern Cali. So we ended up in a neighborhood in Southern California, and, now we're in a rut, and it's just like, well, heck, man, let's just pick up and move again. Just start over scratch.
And you realize just life is too short. People are gone. People are it's just not worth living like that if you don't have to. And it's like we had to, but we busted our ass and saved pennies. And then once we realized that, holy shit, we are in a rut and we're really just totally playing ourselves. We did it again. We up and moved and put it all on the line. And
so where'd you go?
We moved out from the Valley area out to the Long Beach Signal Hill area. We moved to Signal Hill, which was it's right by all the Boeing plants were here. So there was a lot of machining in the area. There was a lot of supply houses. There was a lot of really cool aircraft parts and welders and tool manufacturers and hardware and stuff out here in Signal Hill. So, I just got into my car one weekend and started driving around SoCal looking for places to set up shop at. And I spent 2 or 3 weeks sleeping on another friend of ours' couch out here in Long Beach and settled on Signal Hill. And, we packed up all of our stuff and moved out here and set up shop once again and started over from scratch again.
But this time we were on our own, and we didn't have anyone to deal with. So it was all ours.
I still got the first dollar bill that we had. When you're a kid in New York growing up, the pizzeria always had a first dollar bill on the wall, and you'd always ask the old man, and you say, it's the first dollar we ever made here. And I got our first dollar still that we made. Literally the first dollar that was handed to us, got it. And it was a pretty awesome feeling at the time. And it just does. It doesn't get old, It really doesn't get old. It's still pretty exciting.
Right. Well, tell us something that you're doing right now that's got you guys fired up.
To be honest with you, it's helping people with their automotive dreams is really exciting, We've got a bunch of good customers in here that really, really enjoy what we do. And whether it's, like we built the car for EA Games, the RTRX, which is an awesome project. It was something that we're super proud of. It made the cover of Hot Rod Magazine, which is something that we've been trying to get our entire lives.
Yeah, it all comes full circle.
So, now here we are. We've got our cover of Hot Rod Magazine, and it's just awesome.
In your business, you guys are primarily service, right? You manufacture some parts and have some of your own.
Yeah, we manufacture a couple of interesting parts, mostly for the Mark IV Supra. Little problem-solving deals, but we also we do heavy fabrication mostly. Fuel injected turbocharged systems. We'll do superchargers and natural aspirated car too if they're cool, but for the most part we do fabrication work, make headers, make intake manifolds, do bitch and fuel systems. Like for instance, at the shop right now we've got a customer of ours with a BMW E46. We put a supercharger on. We're converting it over to a standalone ECU and putting it on a flex fuel sensor, and it's just a regular guy's car, but he is so excited about it and so just in love with the idea of having this custom car that his enthusiasm is like, damn, this is awesome, dude. We're making this dude's dreams come true, you know?
Yeah.
And that doesn't get old. It really doesn't get old, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, we remember it well being on the other side of the counter, and it drives our business motto to this day. That salty, sour taste that we got as kids getting jerked around by the guy at the speed shop, and how it took our hard-earned money and gave us nothing in return for it. And you know, that devastated us as young men, and it would, to this, you know, we see it happening today, and those people that get burnt like we got burnt, they just give up. And that's one less car enthusiast that some shop took their money and ruined their dreams. And now that guy may not be a car guy anymore. He just gave up. He's like, fuck it, I ain't doing this anymore.
I mean,
Yeah, as Paul Yaw says, Paul said guys like that are making his sandbox smaller.
sure.
They're making the industry smaller, right? They're instead of building a new enthusiast, right?
Yeah,
they just ruined it.
Yeah, absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And you know, we definitely, you know, try to use that on a daily to keep us motivated and pushing forward. You know, as soon as you screw that guy over, just to get your quick bucks out of him, he might not come back. You know, and these people aren't using their cars that we build to take their kids to school. These are weekend fun cars, so they have to be fun in the build up to them. Also, you can't. I mean, I don't know how these people can sleep with themselves, wringing their customers out like a rag, and when they're done with the money they can get out of them, just kicking them down the curb and moving on to the next guy. It's just unconscionable to me, you know?
Right.
Yeah, when we were young men, my brother had a 71 Plymouth Roadrunner. This is like when we were 17, barely 18, with a big block 440 that we had scraped and put together everything that we could to get this thing together. And it was the dream car for him when we were young men was this 71 Roadrunner. We finally got our hands on this thing, and we just couldn't get it to fire up. We couldn't get it to see spark. For some reason we had done something wrong. So we brought it to a local speed shop, and they were like, yeah, just we're going to stick it in the back when to get to it. And 3 weeks later, yeah, we're going to get to it. And a month later, we're going to get to it. And then that whole thing happened with us having to leave our home and being on the street pretty much at, you know, barely not even 18 yet. And we're on our own in New York. We have nowhere to put this car, so we don't contact these people for 2 or 3 months. And then we call them 2 or 3 months later, like, I got a couple of bucks. I'd like to finish the car. And they just laughing at us like, ha, buddy, that thing is lien sale. You left it here. You didn't call me, so it's gone. So that's it. They took the car from us. And there's nothing we can do about it. But, man, the salty taste that it left, especially as a proud guy, you know, alpha fucking males that we are, to have somebody screw you over like that and just you can't do anything about it. I still am pissed off about it to this day, but again, like Mark's saying, we use it to motivate us to remember that stinging that I felt in my mouth by getting punched by this dude, literally. And it's never going to happen over here. It's never going to happen. I mean, I'll take the loss before we screw somebody over. Never, ever going to happen.
So that's the best way you guys have found that works. Like if you can take care of your customers, the business takes care of itself. Do you agree with that?
100%. And you know, I never advertised anything. We don't have an ad in any magazines or anything like that.
So building cars, word of mouth is the way that you guys get it out there.
That's it. And you know, with dealing with all the magazine and industry contacts, you know, we've been showing them the same level of respect that we would want them to show us for so long now, that when the new magazine editor comes over, he says, hey, these guys are cool guys, you should keep in contact with them, that kind of stuff. And, you know, it just keeps opening more doors and flowing.
And you can't find one person in the industry who says, oh, those guys burnt me. It just doesn't exist. And if someone says that, they're full of shit. And other people usually call them on it. Like, hey, that's not right. You can't say that. Tell me the story. And it's like winds up being bullshit anyhow. So,
sure.
But we also have to choose our customers wisely then, because we are entering into basically a marriage with these people. And if it's an unstable individual, or it's someone who's into, who maybe has a lot of money, but he's into nefarious things, and you got an inkling in the back of your head that this guy is not on the up and up, but I'm getting into basically a marriage with this guy over this car because we're going to be involved with it over years. It really means that you have to choose your customers wisely.
Talk more about choosing your customers wisely.
I mean, we laugh that we have an interview process here for these folks, but it's the truth, whether they realize it or not. We will ask them to map out what they want to do, and if they have a idea on how they want to get this done, a list of parts or whatever, and that's the first step. And if it makes sense what they want to do, if it's not I want to put a turbo out through the hood on my G35, but it needs to be streetable, and I want to road race it, but it needs to make 1,100 horsepower and run 9s. It's like, okay, you're retarded, and we're not gonna take this any further. But thank you for calling us. So for every
seriously though, what do you say to that guy? That guy calls and says that exact situation. What do you tell him?
We tell him that's not gonna work. Unfortunately, that's not anything that we want to get involved with. And if you don't, I will take the time to tell them that this is why it won't work, and you have to make this choice on how you want to build this thing. And at the end of the day, we are going to be 100% happy with how we're going to build this car and stand behind it. And we're going to know from day one if at the end of the day this thing is going to deliver. And if we know that there's a chance in our minds that this thing is not going to deliver, if it's not going to work out, or the car isn't going to run as this dude thinks he was, maybe because he brought a list of components and I want you to use this turbo and this intake manifold, and I want you to use that. And if it's not something that we're comfortable with, a combination that's going to work, we'll just say we can't do it. We're not going to help you. We can't do it. I'm sorry. Have a nice day. And
usually that's the first time these people have ever heard something like that from anybody in the automotive industry, where it's like, hey, I want to spend money with you, and then the guy in the shop says, no, it's not going to work. So that could happen, and it's but also we're
well, that attracts the right type of people. That attracts the kind of customers that you want.
Well, then,
at the same time,
we're while we're doing this over the course of these weeks of talking with these people before they can get their car in here, is trying to assess their personality type, and
we're both fairly savvy dudes, and we both got an instinct. And if either one of us gets a bad vibe from somebody, like it's this guy is not on the up and up, just don't want to get involved with it. Life's too short. We had some crazy shit happen at Performance Factory with some people that they were dealing with that were a little bit shady and, throwing chairs around and people wanting to fight in the showroom, and I mean craziness. So it's like I can't even. It's not worth it. It's totally not worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's your Achilles heel? Like, do you guys have a kryptonite? Like, what are you not good at doing?
We hate things that we don't like to do. We don't like to do any kind of body work or even be around it because of the amount of dust and dirt and shit like that. So
so we got some experts that we deal with for that, which is nice to have our guys at Buddha Concept Design as our body guys. So we just kick over to them.
I hate wiring stuff personally, but we got to do it.
In all honesty, I don't like taking money off the customer. I don't like invoicing them and doing that. It's just part of the job. But if we could do this for free, then it would be awesome. But I hate going over the invoice with the customers. We try and do our best, and at the end of the day, we really don't have much complaints or anything. But it's part of the job that I really don't like because it's not fun. I mean, it's never fun for them, and it's kind of not fun for me either. But it has to be done, so I just knuckle through it. But I prefer if we were just uber wealthy and just could do this for fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the reality, right? You gotta eat.
Gotta eat. And then, I tell these people too that if they don't want to pay their bill on time, or they don't want to help us out and, make a little bit of scratch on this part here, then the only thing that's going to happen is a year from now, we're going to fold. We're not going to be here anymore. And then you are going to be out and have to find somebody else to keep your automotive dream alive and keep it going. So if you are a car guy that likes his car and likes the service that we give you here, but don't want to get us any money for doing it, then the end result is that we're not going to be able to do it anymore, and you're not going to have anybody to work on your shit. So you got to make the choice yourself.
Yeah. What's the big, hairy, audacious goal for you guys and for Twins Turbo?
You know, it's funny. I mean, we're pretty dynamic, and you know, I mean, I don't know that we have a goal that.
Is it changing all the time?
It's constantly changing, and you know, I mean, I don't know where we're going to be in 5 years from now, but I know we'd probably be building cars for people. And I mean, if we won Lotto tomorrow, we would probably still have to build cars to get it out of our systems, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, the big term goals for us is just really to just keep making better cars, perfect our craft a little bit more, keep pushing the envelope, try to make some money, but it's really dynamic, you know?
We've all got a lot to learn, and, you know, I could shape metal and I could work with metal, but there are people that we work with that are like craftsmen at such a high level that I could never obtain that level of craftsmanship that they have, but I can still strive for it and try to better myself. And, you know, every single project that we do, and down to every single weld that I do, it's like I try to do a better job than the last one that I did. So I'm constantly trying to improve myself, and, you know, I never say to myself, "Oh, that's good enough," or, you know, or I got this thing covered so much that I don't have to try very hard. You know, it's constantly trying to better ourselves and trying to better the product that we put out there. And
yeah,
you know, I mean, we like to make parts that we sell that doesn't necessarily require a lot of input on our part, besides, you know, making something cool that people appreciate and they want to buy that stuff. And
yeah, that's pretty cool too. Like, just like we sit around at the shop here and we have a problem with something, and then we're like, well, what if we did this and made a bracket that did that? And then, you know, we say, you know what, we should take this thing and have our CNC guy make 20 of these and see if anybody wants to buy it. And you know, we've got a bunch of stuff that over the last 10 years we've sold hundreds of. And, you know, you read comments on the internet like, wow, this thing's awesome. It solved my problem. This thing kicks ass. Everybody should have one of these. And it's like, you know what?
And that's what it's all about.
Like, dude, we just sat around the shop here. We were drinking some beer, looking at this thing, and an epiphany hit us, like how we would do it. So maybe somebody else would want to buy it. I don't know. But for me, it's going to solve our problem. And then to have other people say, damn, this thing kicks ass, and it's just great. I mean, it's so rewarding from a car guy standpoint. I went to a car show. We don't really go to a lot of car shows, but I went to one last year with a car that we had just debuted. It was a super event down in Vegas with this big car build, this Toyota Supra that took 2 years to build. And it's just a really phenomenal
silver car.
No, it's the red one. It's Enrique Munoz's car. It's a red. I'll send you a picture. It's awesome, dude. It was on Speed Hunters it's a big article on Speed Hunter. Anyway, this thing is so kick-ass. But anyway, I was down in Vegas at a super meet down there, debuting this car, and I was just walking around the car show, and I'm seeing our parts on cars in the car show. There's our thermostat rotator. This guy's got our throttle cable bracket. There's 2 or 3 of our clutch master cylinder kits. And it's like, holy crap, how effing cool is that, you know? I mean, These guys don't know that's me standing there asking them about their car, because I don't like put my face out there like, hi, this is me, you should know who I am. But I sold you that thing, and my brother and I made it to solve a problem we had at the shop, and you guys are using it here on your cars and enjoying it. And, you know, from a car guy, that's pretty damn rewarding, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not Vic Edelbrock, but to have parts that you make and dream up on cars that people are using and
then have other shops knock it off.
Yeah, that's a problem, but, you know, flattery is the knocking off.
Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
That in business.
Yeah. You know, we expect that from the Chi-Comps, you know? We don't expect it from another American company that's trying to do what we do, but they're out there and they, you know, they'll buy a part from us for a customer's car, air quote, and then 2 or 3 weeks later, they're debuting their brand new part that they're all proud of. And it's like, holy mackerel, you guys didn't even fucking change our design slightly. You just took the exact same thing and handed it over to a machine shop and said, make me 25 of these, you know?
Yeah.
Maddening. But a lot of people realize who originally set these things up and made them, and they will buy them from us just to say F you to those other guys, which is pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, that's for real.
Yeah. Well, that just shows you that
have loyal customers.
Yeah, and that just shows you that people that know who we are and our background of willing to try out new things are stand up enough to just, do that. To call me up and say, hey, I saw you guys selling this. I saw those guys saying that I know you guys have made this thing originally and you guys designed it, so I'm going to buy it from you to give you the money. And it's like, that's awesome, dude, you know?
Yep.
Free shipping for you.
There you go. So can you guys suggest an action item? So I don't want to just talk about all the high-level kind of in-the-cloud stuff. What's an action item, something that we can do today to improve our situation, something that you've learned? What advice would you give to an up-and-comer that they could do this week to go after their dreams or to improve their situation?
What do you got, Mark? You got anything?
Surround yourself with the best people that you can, even if they don't want to be surrounded by you. If you got to go to the finest shop in your area and beg to push a broom around just so you can stand around and do it, you should do it. You should volunteer your time to get to prove yourself to people who are very difficult to impress. People in this industry have very high, we all strive to a very high level when we're doing this kind of stuff. So you just can't let anybody go near these cars or touch them or even push them around the shops. So you got to be really careful. But if you're never going to get in the door unless you're willing to take a hit for yourself. So if you believe in yourself and you think, look, I want to do this, and well, the way you should start doing that is to beg someone who has the baddest shop in your neighborhood or the one that you respect the most and try and push a broom around so that you can prove to them in a month or two, like, oh, hey, I can also do this. And they may give you a shot doing it.
That's good stuff.
And you definitely got to
I think a lot of people won't do that. A lot of people won't do that.
I was just about to say the same thing, that, what we've found is, and I don't know if it's a generational thing, but a lot of the younger guys nowadays expect literally like not knowing anything, not being able to do anything, not having any background, just to be able to just say, all right, I can do this. I think I can. I need $25 an hour, and I'm willing to help you out with your little business that you got going on there, bringing my greatness to bear down on it. And a lot of these kids don't even know what the hell they're doing. And they're not willing to do that, to go there and push the broom and say, hey, if you guys want, I'll clean that bathroom. I don't give a hell. I'll scrub the toilet.
Yeah, do what it takes,
whatever
right?
it takes, dude.
Like the Aussies say, put in the hard yards.
Put in the hard yards. Yeah, that makes sense. But if you're not willing to do that, then that dude who owns that shop
you're not very impressive.
He's not going to willing to open up his 20 years or 40 years or whatever experience to you just because you're some dude who showed up there. Maybe if you're a hot chick, you have to get a little bit further along. But there's plenty of dudes out there, and nobody really cares,
Yep. So, guys, I want to jump into quick answer questions. I'm going to try and fire these things off at you and just fire them right back.
Right.
Tell us about a game-changing product that you've seen in the last year. Tell us something maybe we don't know about.
Fire stickers.
Those damn Treadwear stickers, man. I mean, those things are so cool, and I know it's just a simple little thing, but whoever came up with that is effing genius, because it's just a piece of rubber that's in white or whatever color. It's cut out, and you use a rubber glue like you would to patch the inside of a tire to stick this rubber letters to the outside of your damn tire, and it looks like a racing tire, and those dudes are going to make millions. God bless them. I mean, that is just the coolest little stupid thing. And whenever I see stuff like that, I kick myself for not thinking of
it first.
Sure, absolutely. But on the same note, I say, God bless that dude, man. God bless him, because he's going to make it happen for himself. And
there's hope.
Yeah, that just tells you that there's hope, one of these ideas that you come up with, you know, they say that you run the flag up to see if anybody shoots at it, and we've been continually doing that. And one of these days, we will hopefully have a product, a widget that is like, damn, everybody needs one of those, and you know, then it happens for you too, you know.
There you go.
But those damn the tread wears, I still can't believe how simple. It's like $100 for your 4 tires. They probably got $10 in it by the time it's said and done, maybe 15. And they're making bank, and
it's cool.
And it looks way cool. We've done it to like 4 cars at the shop here already. They all look cool as hell. Simple and effective.
Treadwear stickers.
Treadwear stickers, as crazy as that sounds. I also am really impressed, and not to switch gears to something a little bit more complex, the Borg-Warner EFR line of turbochargers. I mean, these dudes went clean slate, gamma-tied turbine blades, aluminum bearing cartridges, speed sensors built in, stainless steel cast turbine housings, forged milled compressors. They really are trying to take the small turbocharger unit, super efficient, and push it to the limit. I think that's awesome. It's kick-ass because the turbos that we've been dealing with, the majority of them, you know, for the last 20 years, up until like 10 years ago, are all diesel stuff that they've been widgeting parts together for. And since the OEMs have gotten involved with turbocharging in a big way in the last decade, turbochargers have been really coming to the forefront, which is something that we've been trying to get people to take advantage of for 20 years now. And, you know, Borg-Warner really stepped up with the EFR line, and it's just kick-ass stuff. And we really, you know, like using the highest tech out there. I mean, we really like to try and partner with people that are doing the legwork and try to make things better and not just evolving product A to product A version 3.0, but let's get a product D down the line. And what's the brand new setup, you know?
Yeah, clean slate design.
Clean slate. And that's cool for us. You know, I don't want to keep jumping in, but like when, you know, 10 years ago, we were hanging out with some pro mod dudes, and we were like, you know, you guys should let us put some turbochargers on these cars. And they were like, that ain't going to work, boy.
And now look at them.
Yeah, now look at them. And we were telling these people 10 years ago to let us put some hair dryers on their cars. And they were like, no.
And nowadays, the only way that something like Drag Week can happen is because you don't have a belt driving your compressor across the country. They can just ease it with a set of turbos. There's no way you could even do anything like that with a blower anymore. And turbos make all that stuff happen. And it's like, well, hell, duh, we've been telling you guys.
Turbos are coming in all kinds of OE applications. I mean,
sure.
Ford really laid the groundwork, and the EcoBoost line of all their cars has been crazy successful. And now you're starting to see smaller engines, big turbo stuff, even in OE applications. I mean, the new Ford GT.
Sure.
You know, that's a
V6 supercar.
That's a pretty serious departure from the way that it's been done for a long time.
Well, I was just reading about the new Cadillac CTS V6 engine.
Yeah.
So it's a
V6
titanium rod, 3.6 liter
overhead cam.
I mean, in a Cadillac with twin turbos that makes 460 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque.
Now we'll be able to turn that up.
If that's not a bitchin' engine, then I don't know what a bitchin' engine is, you know?
Yep.
I mean, and that's from an OEM. And that's pretty kick-ass right there. And 10 years ago, there's no way in hell that Cadillac would have put a turbo motor in any of their cars. And I think, you know, General Motors is considering it for their next-gen Corvette, even, as crazy as that sounds.
Yep.
And like you're saying, the Ford GT is going to come out with a V6. Now, it's almost a bespoke race engine, but it's a dang V6 in a supercar.
Yeah, right.
And if that thing does what it's supposed to do,
and it will,
people are going to be freaked out. And as much as I love the 7-liter Aventador engine and how it sounds is pure sex, and it's just an awesome piece of equipment, you know, I am loyal to a fault to a super high technology driven compressed bitchin' little engine that does things that it's not supposed to do.
Yeah.
Once you sample some boost, it's tough to go back.
Yeah, indeed. Back to the dark side.
Man, we got off track hard on that one.
Sorry about that.
I'm gonna reel it back in.
Yeah.
What about a software program? Tell me about a software program that we don't know about, that you guys use, that's going to blow my mind.
I got my IT guy handles all that stuff. I have minimum contact with that as much as humanly possible. I just got my Skype set up on the computer yesterday, so.
What about what tuning software you use mostly? What engine management
we use
are you
OEFI or Motec.
Okay.
So the cars that get the Motec, we have Shane Tecklenburg set them up for us. We have since day one, back in like 2000, and it's Shane forgot more than we'll ever know type of deal. So there's no reason to do anything but call Shane up. And we enjoy working with him on a personal level. And then all the Pro EFI stuff, we have our buddy Dave Jusko tune, who we've known for 15 years also. Quality control engineer at Toyota. He is a super owner, and he's a really detail-oriented guy who sees the effort that we put into the car and wants to help us extract the most out of it. Because it's basically that's the only limit that we have at the shop here, is that we can build the car 110%, and except for the ECU tune-up, which we leave in hands of experts.
Right, partner up with people.
That's it. But that's the only thing that we don't control fully in-house here. But we use people that are so good at it, and electronics that are so good at what they do,
that the customer gets a great value.
Yeah, I mean, up until like 2 years ago, we were strictly Motec, because the other ECU companies out there, their stuff is just lacking, and just the failure rate is too high, and we just can't accept that for a customer. A lot of our guys are from out of state, out of country. We ship cars overseas. You get a car from us here and it runs perfectly. You get it to your home in Georgia and it won't start anymore because the ECU took a crap or the fuel compensation has changed. And it's like, that's an absolute failure. We can't let that happen. So up until a couple of years ago, it was strictly Motec, and then we started using Pro EFI, and it works really well, and we've got a really good relationship with those guys, and they work with us. So it's a great option for us to exercise on the cars that don't need the balls out, electronics package,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So this one's going to be right up your alley.
Oh.
What's your favorite shop tool?
Probably the welder.
Is Miller welder?
Yeah, probably the Miller TIG welder.
What do you got?
I could join metal at my leisure.
What do you have?
I got a Synchro-Wave 350. I got a Dyna.
Yeah.
I got like 3 MIG welders and 2 pig welders.
Yep.
So
all Miller electric stuff. This stuff kicks ass. Big fans of Miller. My favorite tool at the shop is my Brown and Miller crimp machine. So,
for hose ends?
So we do the crimped hose ends from Brown and Miller Racing Solutions, and since my background as a plumber, in my former life, where on the race car stuff, I do all the fluid systems, all the plumbing, and I really enjoy doing it. And Brown and Miller, they've got like 90% of NASCAR. They have 90% of Grand Am, ALMS. They do Formula One. They're pretty much considered the finest hose and fittings manufacturer that you can get your hands on. And we got their crimp machine in the shop, and we do all the stuff here in-house. And our cars are just raised the bar that much better by having the baddest components that you could have, and it's down to the plumbing fittings and stuff like that also, and the hoses.
Yeah.
Awesome piece of kit, though.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think is the future of automotive performance? Like, we already touched on it a little bit with the turbochargers. All the OEs are doing a lot more OE turbocharged applications. You think that's the future? What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think so. And with direct injection, it's going to continue along those paths there. I like personally, a lot of the OEMs are doing a hybrid fuel system with a conventional upstream injector as well as a direct injection.
Yeah, port with a DI injector.
So that makes it, aftermarket friendly. Just because the direct injection is so complex and requires so much that you can't really modify it well. But if you have an additional set of injectors that you can take control of, then you have the best of both worlds there,
Right.
So engines are going to continue to get smaller. Fuel economy is going to continue to be a issue. But at the same note, 5 or 6 years ago, we were thinking that performance cars might be dead,
Yeah, now look.
Gas was $5 a gallon.
Mm-hmm.
People were hurting everywhere.
The SUV was dead.
The SUV was dead. Fun was dead. Racing is dying. You're towing your boat to the lake on the weekends is dead because you can't afford the gas. And now it's all come full circle. But to tow that boat, you need a powerful engine. It still gets decent mileage, so you got a turbocharged diesel on it or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to the turbos again.
So, guys, how do we connect with you guys? How do we connect with Twins Turbo and Mark and Eric Kozlu?
Well, we got a website that's antiquated right now that we're working on redoing, and it should be up and running. I mean, it takes way longer than I can quantify for some reason.
Constant evolution, though.
But it's a constant, evolution. We've been doing a lot of Instagram lately, which is
okay. What's your Instagram?
It's Twins Turbo Motorsports. So that's pretty neat.
So, we can keep up on a timely basis with projects and stuff.
It's easier for us because we do something and it's like, holy crap, that's cool, and to put it on the website to take months and weeks, and it's just like call this guy, call that guy, send him a picture, shrink it down. It's like, Instagram, boom, it happens immediately, and people dig it or they don't dig it, and it's a really cool way for us to share what happens at the shop here.
Word, I'm gonna check it out.
So the Instagram is cool, and I got stuff on Facebook too. We have a Facebook page. I try to get on there and update it. It's just, it seems boring for me to sit behind a computer and do stuff. That's why the Instagram stuff is so easy. It just, you pull out your dang phone and talk into it and pick a picture and it does it for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, hey, look, I know you guys are slammed. I appreciate you taking some time out to tell us your story, kind of what you guys are about, and give us a little insight into your world.
Oh, dude, it was an absolute pleasure hanging out with you today. I mean, pretty.
What's the goals for this podcast anyhow? Like, what's your stated goals?
Yeah, so the idea here is just to help the industry, help kind of up-and-comers to relate to the people that are in the industry doing it and find out that maybe they can do it too and learn some resources. So basically, maybe we can learn from the hurdles that we've all jumped over and be able to anticipate them and maybe spend our time jumping over new hurdles instead of the same old ones.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, man. I like the model there. Try to jumpstart some people's careers without having to have them do the same trips and falls that we all did.
Right. And also maybe find out, maybe some people don't have it because, but the idea here is to provide the resources to no more excuses. Go get it done.
Yeah, even if you went to YO Tech and you think you're a badass, I mean, you still go and pick up that broom. Mm-hmm. Push the broom, and then in 2-3 months when they say, hey, can you do this? You say, yeah, I actually can do that. And then your foot is effectively in the door right now.
Yeah, we have, I probably get 3 resumes a month here from people that want to work for us. And then I get 1 or 2 phone calls every month. I all ask them the same thing, like, do you know what we do here? And like 90% of them say, you work on cars. And it's like, well, you just fucking failed, dude, because you're just sending your stuff out to anybody that says motorsports or says car on it. You didn't even take 5 effing minutes to go and see what it is that we do here to see if you're a fit for us. You just want to get in the automotive industry. Now, I understand that, but, if you come to me and say, I want to work for you, and I say, great, do you know what we do here? And you say you work on cars, you just fucking failed.
So that's a perfect thing that I want to answer for our listeners right now. So to anybody listening that has that resume in hand or wants to work at your place, what are you looking for?
I mean, you need to know what it is that we do here, what it is that we specialize in,
why it's special,
and why it's special for. And
so you're looking for passion.
Absolutely. I mean, we get knuckleheads all the time here that can weld. I mean, that's cool, Guys that can bend roll cage tubing. I mean, that's awesome. But, I mean, if you're just looking for a paycheck, you need to go find somewhere else to go because we want enthusiasts here. We want some dude that can be taken in a raw state and molded into a awesome automotive dude who will make us proud in 10 years from now, and we'll be able to look at and say, that's our guy right there. The last 2 guys that we worked through here, one of them just left a month ago. Carlos, awesome dude. He's like family here. He got hired by MagnaFlow. He works in their R&D department there. They got like 60 employees. There's 2 or 3 people in the R&D department. He's now one of them. That reflects well on us. We've done our job. And the guy who left before him went to work for Boeing. and now he's working for Boeing in a satellite division doing, similar type stuff that he did here. But the background that we set him up with here, the working with people, the on the road with the race cars, the trials and tribulations, we have to get this done regardless if one of the members of the team doesn't want to get it done. We still got to get it done. Attitude. It just plays into who we like to work with here and how we're going to decide who gets to hang out over here and do what we do. If you want to come and work for us because you want your car built and you want cheap prices on parts, then you're the absolute last person that we want to work here.
Boom.
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 Pick up the broom. Pick up the mop. Clean the dog poop up. Whatever it needs to be done.
Humble yourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll impress somebody.
You certainly aren't going to impress anybody by telling them how badass you are. Because what you do speaks louder than your word, just like our cars. I mean, we don't go and tell people how badass the cars are. The cars, thankfully, seem to be well received by the people. And I don't want to go into a tangent here, but the last car that we built, this red Supra that we built for Enrique Munoz, it's an awesome piece of kit. I mean, it's currently being talked about as one of the nicest Supras ever built, and we are super proud of it. It took a long time to do, but it was a labor of love. It was 100% a labor of love, and it takes a long time to do, and you got to have a lot of passion to do this type of stuff. So,
there it is.
That car just, set a bar that people are going to try to take, to try and reach that bar where he's at, and I'm not bragging or anything like that, but, we built that car so that we're all happy. Like, do you like this? Do you like this? It wasn't a checklist of like, we have to get this on there so that the judges like the car when it's at the car show. None of that. All between Enrique and us, what do we like, what do we don't like, and then we put the product out there. And the fact that it's so well received now is just a testament to that we all had the right ideas, but it wasn't a plan to build this car to make people happy. It was a plan to make Enrique happy, and the fact that people love it is just like, wow, we've really done an awesome job here. This is just kick ass, and it's all have to do with driven by passion, dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks.
Thank you, man, and good luck on your further endeavors.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
Ciao.
Thanks for listening to Do It for a Living. You can find out more about this guest, this show, and even details about what we just talked about at our website, doitforaliving.net. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/doitforaliving and tell us who you want to hear from. And most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Click subscribe. Do it now. Seriously. I'll wait while you grab your phone. Open up the podcast app, tap the subscribe button. When you subscribe, you help us gain momentum and attract more high-level guests. Thanks for listening, and good luck.